The Sanctuary Station Crisis Deep in the Andromeda Spiral, where 3 star systems touched their borders, floated the research station Haven's light. It was a beautiful thing to see, like a crystal flower blooming in the darkness of space. Station housed over 50,000 beings from dozens of peaceful species. They came here to study, to learn, and to live together in harmony. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood at the observation deck, watching the morning shift begin. Around her, the crystalline singers hummed their work songs, their bodies glowing with soft blue light. Nearby, the moss people tended to their hydroponic gardens, their leaf-covered hands gentle with the growing plants. The drift folk floated through the air like living clouds, their gaseous forms shimmering with contentment. Elena smiled, but her heart carried a secret weight. She was not just a xenobiologist studying alien plant life. She was a watcher, sent by Earth's silent service to monitor the galaxy's edge. For 20 years, she had lived among these gentle beings, growing to love them like family. They trusted her completely, never knowing she carried hidden communication devices and weapons that could kill 100 beings. In seconds, the peaceful morning was shattered when the station's alarms began to wail. Commander Zephyr's voice echoed through the halls. The ethereal's mental speech touched every mind on the station simultaneously. All residents report to emergency stations. We have detected massive energy signatures approaching our location. Elena's blood turned to ice. She had been monitoring deep space for months, watching for signs of something the galaxy had forgotten, something that should have stayed buried in the dark between stars. She ran through the corridors, pushing past frightened families. The singing children clung to their parents, their usually bright voices now silent with fear. The Elder Keepers, ancient beings who had lived for thousands of years, moved with unusual speed. They remembered stories their grandparents had told them about the old darkness. The command center was chaos. Dozens of species worked together, their different forms of communication creating a symphony of panic. Some spoke in whistles, others in flashing lights, and some in chemical scents that made the air thick with meaning. Commander Zephyr stood at the center of it all. The ethereal was 7 feet tall and made of what looked like living starlight. When stressed, ethereals became brighter, and right now Zephyr was blazing like a small sun. "Report," Elena said, using her authority as a senior researcher. "We detected them 6 hours ago," replied Scatter Technician Vrim, a small creature with 12 eyes that could see into multiple dimensions. "At first, we thought it was a natural phenomenon, but the pattern is too organized, too purposeful." Elena studied the displays. Her enhanced human eyes, modified by Earth's biotech, could process information faster than most species. What she saw made her stomach clench with terror. The energy signatures were massive, numbering in the thousands. They moved in perfect formation, consuming everything in their path. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. 18 hours, Vrim whispered. "Maybe 20 if they slow down to feed on the asteroid fields." Commander Zephyr's light dimmed with despair. "We must evacuate. Get everyone to the transport ships." "There are not enough ships," said Chief Engineer Koba, a 4-armed being whose species was known for their practical thinking. "We have transport. Capacity for maybe 5,000 beings. The rest." The command center fell silent. Everyone understood. 45,000 beings would be left behind to face whatever was coming. Alana made her decision. She activated a hidden panel on her wrist, sending a coded transmission into deep space. The message was simple. Code Black. Sanctuary Station under threat. Ancient enemy confirmed. Requesting immediate assistance. The message raced through space at faster-than-light speed, bouncing off hidden relay stations that the galaxy had. Forgotten existed. It would reach Earth in 4 hours. "Dr. Vasquez," Commander Zephyr said, noticing her actions. What are you doing? Elena took a deep breath. After 20 years of living a lie, it was time for truth. I am calling for help. From whom? The nearest council fleets are weeks away. Not the council, Elena said quietly. From Earth. The command. Center went silent. Every being turned to stare at her. In the galaxy's history, humans were known as the Death Worlders, the violent species from a planet so dangerous that it had tried to kill them every day of their evolution. Most species feared them, some hated them, but all respected their power. You are human? Commander Zephyr asked, their light flickering with shock. I am, Elena said. I have lived here for 20 years, watching and protecting this station. My people have been monitoring the galaxy's edge, waiting for this day. What day? Demanded Chief Koba. Elena looked at the energy readings on the screens. The day the Devourers returned. An ancient fear settled over the command center. The Devourers were legend, nightmare stories told to children. Machines that had consumed entire civilizations millions of years ago, only to vanish into the dark spaces between galaxies. The Devourers are not real, whispered one of the Elder Keepers. They are stories. They are very real, Elena said, and they are coming here to feed. Over the next several hours, the station transformed. The peaceful research facility became a fortress preparing for siege. The crystalline singers used their natural abilities to strengthen the station's shields. The Moss people began growing defensive plants that could seal hull breaches. The Drift folk scouted the approaching enemy, their gaseous forms able to move through space without ship's dot, but everyone knew it was hopeless. The station's defenses were designed to protect against asteroids and solar flares, not against an enemy that had destroyed star systems dot in the nursery levels. Parents held their children close. The young ones did not understand the danger, but they felt the fear of their elders. The singing children, usually so bright and happy, huddled together in silent groups. Elena stood in her quarters, looking at a hidden wall panel that held weapons and equipment Earth had given her. She had enough firepower to level a city, but against thousands of Devourer ships, it would be like throwing pebbles at a mountain. A soft chime told her she had received a message. It was from Earth, encrypted in a code only she could read. Message? Received. Fleet responding. Hold position. Help is coming. She closed her eyes and felt something she had not experienced in years. Hope. But would it be enough? The Devourers had destroyed civilizations that had fought them with weapons beyond. Imagination. What could even Earth do against such ancient evil? As if reading her thoughts, Commander Zephyr entered her quarters. The ethereal's light was dim with exhaustion and fear. Do you really believe your people will come? Zephyr asked. Elena looked out at the stars, imagining the human fleet racing through space toward them. My people have a saying, nobody fights. Harder than someone protecting their family. I have lived here for 20 years. You are all my family now. And humans do not abandon family. But can they defeat the Devourers? Elena smiled, and for the first time in hours, her expression held genuine confidence. Commander, you have lived with me for 20 years, but you have never seen what humans can do when they are truly angry. The Devourers are about to learn why the rest of the galaxy fears us. Outside the station, the first Devourer scouts appeared on the edge of sensor range. They were beautiful in a terrible way, like silver spiders the size of moons. Their hulls reflected starlight, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. The countdown had begun. In 12 hours, the main fleet would arrive. In 14 hours, the battle for Haven's Light would begin. Elena activated her communication system one more time, sending a message to every human ship racing toward them. This is Dr. Elena Vasquez, Silent Service, reporting from Haven's Light Station. We have 50,000 civilian non-combatants under threat from confirmed Devourer forces. Rules of engagement are weapons-free. Show them why we are called Deathworlders. The stage was set. The ancient enemy had returned, but this time they would face something they had never encountered before. Humans who had found something worth dying for. When Earth answers, Admiral Marcus Chun stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Unbreakable, watching the tactical display with cold eyes. Behind him, the largest human fleet assembled in 50 years raced through hyperspace toward Haven's Light. 200 ships, from massive dreadnoughts to swift destroyers, all pushing their engines beyond safe limits. Marcus was a hard man with gray hair and scars that told the story of a violent life. He had fought in the border wars, the pirate campaigns, and the rebellion of the outer colonies. He had seen things that would break most minds, done things that kept him awake at night. But today, for the first time in years, he felt something. Like peace. Today, he was not fighting for territory or resources or political power. Today, he was fighting to protect innocent beings who could not protect themselves. Admiral, called his tactical officer, we are receiving updated intelligence from Dr. Vasquez. The main screen filled with Elena's face. She looked tired, but determined. Behind her, Marcus could see alien beings working frantically to prepare defenses. Admiral Chun, Elena said, I am transmitting everything we know about the Devourer forces. Current count is over 3,000 vessels, ranging from scout ships to mobile factories the size of asteroids. They consume everything in their path, breaking down matter at the atomic level to fuel their reproduction. Marcus studied the data flowing across his screens. The Devourer fleet was massive, ancient, and utterly alien. Their technology was beyond anything the galaxy had seen. But Marcus had spent his life fighting impossible odds. Dr. Vasquez, he said, we will reach your position in 8 hours. Can you hold that long? We will try, Elena replied. But, Admiral, there are children here, families, if we fall. You will not fall, Marcus said with quiet certainty. This is Admiral Marcus Chun of the Terran Defense Fleet. By my authority and the honor of my service, I declare Haven's Light Station under the protection of Earth. Any force that threatens those under our protection will be destroyed. He cut the connection and turned to his staff. Battle stations. All ships prepare for immediate combat upon arrival. Throughout the fleet, humans prepared for war. Captain Sarah Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her destroyer Reaper's Edge, watching her crew make final preparations. Sarah was young for a ship captain, only 35, but she had earned her nickname Reaper through a dozen battles where she had done the impossible. Captain, called her weapons officer, all systems are charged and ready. We have enough ammunition to fight for 6 hours at maximum rate. Make it 12 hours, Sarah replied. Strip non-essential systems if you have to. That includes life support to half the ship. Then we breathe in shifts, Sarah said grimly. Those aliens are counting on us. Similar conversations were happening throughout the fleet. Engineers pushed reactors past their design limits. Weapons officers loaded ammunition that had been banned by 17 galactic treaties. Medical officers prepared for casualties they hoped would never come. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Haven's light system, like an avalanche of metal and fire. The Devourer forces had already begun their attack. Silver ships swarmed around the station like insects, their weapons tearing through the shields in focused beams of destructive energy. Admiral Chun looked at the tactical display and felt his jaw tighten. The station was barely holding together. Hull breaches sparked with escaping atmosphere. The beautiful crystal structures were cracked and burning. All ships, he broadcast, engage the enemy. Priority targets are anything threatening the station. Show them what Deathworlders can do. The human fleet struck like a hammer blow. Human weapons were different from anything else in the galaxy. Where other species built elegant energy weapons that killed cleanly, humans built guns that threw chunks of metal at significant fractions of light speed. Where other species used shields and evasion, humans built armor thick enough to stop comets and kept fighting, even when their ships were falling apart. A first wave of human destroyers smashed into the Devourer, swarmed like bullets through glass. The Reaper's Edge led the charge, Sarah Rodriguez's voice echoing over the fleet channels. "This is Reaper. I have the station's port side. Follow. Me in, weapons free, no survivors." Human railguns opened fire, sending tungsten projectiles screaming through space. Each shot hit with the force of a nuclear bomb, punching through Devourer hulls like they were made of paper. The ancient machines, used to fighting enemies who relied on energy weapons, were unprepared for the brutal simplicity of kinetic bombardment. But the Devourers learned quickly. They began to adapt, their hulls reshaping to deflect the human weapons. Their return fire carved through space in beams of coherent destruction that could unmake matter itself. The human ship Defiant took a direct hit and simply vanished, reduced to its component atoms in a microsecond. The cruiser Iron Will lost its forward section, but kept fighting, its captain ramming the crippled ship into a Devourer factory vessel. "Admiral," called the tactical officer, "we are taking heavy casualties. The enemy is adapting to our weapons." Marcus nodded grimly. He had expected this. The Devourers had fought and destroyed civilizations far more advanced than Earth, but they had never fought humans. "Signal all ships," he said. "Implement Chun's gambit." Throughout the fleet, human captains smiled grimly. Chun's gambit was a tactic that had been developed during the border wars, when human forces had been outnumbered 100-1. It was insane, suicidal, and completely human. Every human ship began broadcasting on all frequencies simultaneously. They were sending the same message in every language the galaxy knew. "This is the Terran Defense Fleet. We are evacuating all civilian vessels from this combat zone. Any ship that does not immediately retreat will be considered hostile and destroyed." The Devourer forces paused, confused by this strange behavior. Why were the humans giving them warning? Why reveal their intentions? They got their answer seconds later. Every human ship in the fleet fired simultaneously, but not at the Devourers. They fired at the asteroids, the gas clouds, the space debris scattered throughout the system. Thousands of projectiles struck seemingly random targets, and suddenly the entire battlefield was filled with expanding clouds of metal fragments, ice crystals, and stone chips. The Devourers found themselves flying through a three-dimensional minefield of debris, moving at tremendous speed. Their adaptive hulls, designed to deflect energy weapons, were shredded by millions of tiny impacts. Ships that had survived the destruction of star systems were torn apart by fragments of space rock, moving at relativistic speeds. "All ships," Admiral Chun broadcast, "execute close assault. Board and destroy any surviving vessels." The final phase of the battle was the most human thing of all. Instead of standing off and firing at long range, the human ships moved in close, using their heavy armor to ram damaged Devourer vessels. Marines in powered armor breached the ancient hulls and fought hand-to-hand with machines that had not faced biological opponents in millions of years. The Devourers, for all their advanced technology, had never encountered anything like human stubbornness. Human soldiers kept fighting even when their weapons were destroyed, using tools and debris as clubs. They fought in damaged sections of ship with no atmosphere, their suits providing just enough life support to swing a wrench at an enemy sensor cluster. Captain Rodriguez found herself leading a boarding party into the largest Devourer vessel, a command ship the size of a small moon. The corridors were filled with alien geometries that hurt to look at, walls that shifted and changed when no one was watching. "This is Reaper," she broadcast. I am inside the command vessel, searching for their central control node. Her team fought through waves of maintenance drones and security systems, following the ship's power conduits toward its heart. They found it in a vast chamber filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with dark energy. Found it, Sarah said. Placing charges now. But as her demolitions expert began setting explosives, the chamber filled with a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It spoke in harmonics that made their bones ache. You cannot stop us, the voice said. We are eternal. We have consumed 1,000 galaxies. Your species is young and weak. Sarah looked up at the pulsing crystals and smiled. You know what your problem is? You have been fighting civilized species for so long, you forgot what monsters look like. She triggered the charges. The explosion tore through the Devourer command ship, setting off a chain reaction that spread to every vessel in their fleet. The ancient machines, linked by quantum entanglement across vast distances, died together in a cascade of destruction that lit up the entire star system. When the light faded, the human fleet hung battered but victorious in space around Haven's light station. Of the 200 ships that had arrived, only 67 remained operational. But they had done the impossible. They had defeated an enemy that had destroyed civilizations beyond counting. Admiral Chun received a communication from the station. Elena's face appeared on his screen, and she was crying. Behind her, he could see dozens of alien species working together to repair their home. As singing children were humming again, their voices bright with joy. Admiral, Elena said, I do not know how to thank you. Marcus looked at the tactical display, at the debris fields where his ships had died, at the rescued station where 50,000 beings would continue to live and learn and grow. Dr. Vasquez, he said quietly, no thanks are necessary. Today, we remembered what we fight for. The galaxy would never be the same. The ancient threat was ended, but more importantly, the other species had seen what humans could do when innocent lives were at stake. They had seen the fury of the Deathworlders, unleashed not for conquest or glory, but for protection. In the years that followed, the rescue of Haven's Light would become legend. Children of a dozen species would hear the story of the day the humans came, not as conquerors, but as guardians. And in the dark spaces between stars, other ancient evils would hear the tale and think twice before emerging from their hiding places. Because now they knew, somewhere in the galaxy, the Deathworlders were watching, and they did not abandon family.